Hello, everyone on Facebook land. It is once again time for our legislative update. Today marks the 5th week of this legislative session, and I will say it was the week that went on and on and on. It felt like maybe 3 sessions in 1 week, so we've got a very full legislative update to present you today, and we're just going to start chronological order right off with Monday. So on Monday, those of you who are on our conversations at the Capitol email list received our email giving you a heads up about 2 bills that had sort of came in late the previous week. 2 of them are concurrent resolutions by Representative Lance Clow concerning rules governing the annual inspection of backflow regulators. We have some current concerns around clean water. That one is not moved just yet. I think we're going to see it the week of February 19th. And then there was another one, House Bill 470 was introduced in transportation. That bill seeks to change the way that we do emissions, where only vehicles the year 2007 and older would get tested. Of course, whenever we think about emissions, especially here in the Treasure Valley, where our population continues to grow, where we've had problems with non-attainment in the past, we're concerned around air quality and public health. Since then, I have met with one of the Senate sponsors and got some really great feedback around how we might be able to work with them to ensure that we use the very best science and data available to make sure that Idaho's air quality improves rather than decreases as a result of this legislation. So I think we're going to see some tweaks on that one. So stay tuned around any ways that you can get engaged and contact your legislators around those 2. And then on Tuesday, going forward, we saw early in the morning in front of JFAC, which is the Joint Finances and Appropriation Committee, we saw the Idaho Department of Lands there presenting their budget going forward. And the director, David Greshel, was proud to announce the governor's budget proposal that also included more positions within the Department of Lands to support the Good Neighborhood Authority was also in his budget, which again is great to see because we are very supportive of the collaborative process of working with all stakeholders, both local folks and recreationists, sportsmen, conservation groups to manage our public lands, and the Good Neighbor Authority is a great program to do that through. We also saw in the Senate Ag Affairs and updates from the Idaho Department of Ag around their invasive species prevention program. We can continue to monitor this. We know last year they got some more resources to do the important work that they do because of finding some quagga mussels in Montana, our neighborhood state. It is really important to our clean waters and to the future of Idaho to make sure that we do everything that we can to keep those invasive species out of our water. So it was encouraging to see their update. Then it was Wednesday. Wednesday was the really big day at the State House. We saw 4 bills throughout the day that we had been tracking. 2 of them were great bills that we are excited to see. 2 of them give us pause for alarm. So we're just going to start off with the big issue of the week, which I'm sure you've heard, something that we've brought to you since we've been tracking this issue. House Education Committee decided to vote on the K-12 science education standards on Wednesday morning. The vote was 12-4, and in that vote, they removed supporting content with references to climate change and biodiversity. And despite seeing 29 individuals, both the previous 2 days on the last week, testify in support, which was everyone who testified in support of accepting the docket as the State Department of Education had presented it to them, including the opening hearings that they had done over the summer with over 1,000 comments in support, only 5 in negative, they had still decided to strike one of the sections and all of the supporting content. The thing to know about the rule process, though, which is a little unique, again, Idaho is one of 5 states that reviews these rules, and they actually codified it in the Constitution back in 2016, their ability to do this. Pending rules need any altercations of them must be accepted by both chambers. So now, while we are disappointed to see the move made by the House Education Committee, there is an opportunity within the Senate Education Committee to pass the rules as presented from the State Department of Education or not to support the strikes that were made in the House Education Committee, and then those rules would move forward without the removal of the supporting content and that section. Then we did see, on a positive note, Representative Matt Erpelding presented a House concurrent resolution to the House Resources Committee to support U.S. Congressman Mike Simpson's efforts to rename the recently designated Boulder White Clouds Wilderness as the Cecil D. Andrus White Clouds Wilderness Area. As we as Idahoans can proudly say, Governor Andrus spent his whole life protecting these special wild places, and I think it is a lovely tribute to his life's work and a proactive, positive thing that we can do to celebrate Governor Andrus's conservation legacy. On the flip side of that, unfortunately, we saw Senator Sidaway in Senate Resources bring a joint memorial asking Congress to change the way that we do land protections in the state, that this bill would make it pretty much impossible for any future land protections. They would raise the bar to any future wilderness or national monuments to have consent of the U.S. Congress and of the state legislature. This seems to disincentivize the way that we do things here in Idaho. You know, we support collaboratives coming together, bringing all stakeholders, working out the issues locally to make sure that we can move forward with protections and land management issues. And this essentially removes that table and potentially could actually, I think, have the opposite effect of what Senator Sidaway is looking for. And we could see an increase in the use of the Antiquities Act instead of seeking all the stakeholders and listening to voices from local communities. So that one is very concerning. There's also some interesting in the language of the bill. There's some challenges there. So we will be tracking it, keeping you updated in any ways that you can raise your voices around the ways that you love our public lands currently and want to make sure they remain protected in the future. We know, again, from the Colorado College poll that just came out, I know the Idaho Statesman just did an article on it. We'll share that in the comments below. Idahoans overwhelmingly support public lands and their protection. So we will make sure to keep you connected and tracking that issue for you as it moves forward. But however, on Wednesday, we did see another positive bill come forward in the House Rev and Tax Committee. There was a bill printed to make sure that that there would be a 50% sales tax rebate on any alternatively fueled vehicles. This bill will help Idaho vehicle industry by encouraging more vehicles to be sold by Idaho dealers, and also help Idaho's air quality by reducing the number of vehicles that emit nitrogen oxides into the atmosphere. It also has a sunset, so it's a pilot project so that we can see how this works here in Idaho. It's exciting. Again, we know that electric vehicles have a higher than normal, higher than necessary registration fee on them. So we think that this is a positive step forward when it comes to electric vehicles in Idaho. Then on Thursday, we saw Representative Boyle bring a bill to House Ag. We have some concerns. It's around trespassing. We're mostly concerned making sure that any of the language in there or how they change the way that you post and mark private land doesn't create any conflicts for recreationists and sportsmen when they try to get outdoors into the public land. Also kind of curious where this bill come from. We want to make sure, I've heard that it is supported by the Wilkes brothers, who we know are famous private property owners in Idaho from Texas. Then today, Friday, again, the week that keeps going on and on, we saw two pieces of legislation come through. First was a resolution presented in front of House Resources by the Idaho Association of Counties, asking Congress to pass policy that would make it harder for conservation easements, taxing private landowners who choose to allow their property to become conservation easements. The language in there could potentially be in perpetuity. There's question about legalities of that language. There was a lot of concerns raised in committee, and we'll be watching it as it goes forward. Then we also saw in House Business, Representative Joe Palmer bring a preemption bill. This bill is preempting local cities and municipalities from passing building codes that are different than the state's building codes. We're always concerned when we see the state preempts local communities from doing what makes most sense for them, and we will be watching that going forward as well. So obviously a lot of information, a lot of things are happening. We know that this is probably not the last week we will see lots of stuff going on, so please pay attention. check your inboxes for our updated bill tracker to stay tuned where the bills are, how they're moving through the House and the Senate. Because most of these bills were just voted to print, opportunities for you to show up to the State House and testify either in support of opposition to them will be coming up shortly. So we'll try to keep you updated when you can let your voices be heard in the State House. By the way, next Monday is our legislative reception. We are jointly holding with the Idaho Conservation League. It's a great chance to connect with our Idaho elected officials and the broader conservation community. So we hope to see you there. It's 5 p.m. beside Bardenay. It should be a great time. Besides that, I hope you have a great weekend. Obviously, we've had quite a bit of sun around these last couple of days, and I'm sure there's more of that in the future. So get outside, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much. Have a great one.